Well, over the past decade or so, we've seen some big changes in some of Calgary's more central neighborhoods. And Remax's Sam Creator is with us now. We're going to talk about some of those changes. And Sam, we're going to start with a neighborhood here that's near and dear to your heart. It's Altadore.
Yes, I was born and raised in the area, and so I've certainly watched it grow.
Yeah, it's great. And we're going to take a look now. You've got a beautiful listing in that neighborhood. So let's have a look at that now.
And Stan, we've seen some beautiful properties in the past few weeks. Another one here in Altadore.
Yeah, I thought I would feature this home here as it's a very similar buyer to the condo that we showed in the Princeton. Someone who wants high-end quality, but not a ton of square footage.
How many square feet?
In total, we're about just over 2,500 square feet on all three levels.
You look around, really high-end finishings in this property.
This home was custom built. The builder was Mission Homes and worked with the current homeowner to have something very custom. Everything here, from the floor plan to the finishing to all the high-end features, was really custom built.
Something you can't help but notice right away is in the summertime, the square footage really increases. Just a beautiful little space in the backyard.
Yeah, the backyard, as you can see, has some wonderful space. It's an extension of the property, and it's another room that on most days in the summer you can use in Calgary. And what's really quite unique that a lot of people don't realize is it's very private. Of course, all concrete backyard, so zero scaping for maintenance, but your own patio to include a fireplace and a couple areas for sitting and dining. It's a great spot.
And even in terms of the privacy, you look at even how the front is landscaped. When summer is in and everything grows in, it must be just a beautiful little spot to be.
It is, and as you can see, we're inside the main floor, and from the views from the front and the back are very private.
Nice touch downstairs. I mean, it is smaller in terms of square footage, as you mentioned, for someone who doesn't want as much space. But if you do have people visiting, that downstairs is perfect.
The concept of this house is zero waste of space, and every room is utilized.
Talk about the area a little bit.
This area that we're in right now is in Altadore, and certainly I would say it's one of the fastest growing inner city communities right now. And I think a lot of families want to be here. A lot of people that are downsizing from their high-end homes in other communities that are possibly a lot older, coming from a lot older properties, larger properties, are wanting to be here just because it's centrally located. Land value in this area today for 50 feet is selling at about $850,000.
Wow, and you can't help but notice how close it is to some major arteries if you want to get really anywhere in town.
You're still 5 minutes to downtown, off Crowchild Trail to one of many side streets. But the beauty, of course, of this location is your walking distance to a lot of the shops and restaurants, and a lot of parks here too. If you like to go off leash with your dogs, or if you're just like the pathways, there's a lot of pathways here close by as well.
Great. Let's talk price point.
We're listed about 1.3 million, and we're just newly listed on the market.
So, Sam, I want to get to your listing here in just a second and ask you about that property. But first, what kind of changes have you seen in some of these other older neighborhoods like Altadore and et cetera?
Well, Altadore has changed completely. You know, I grew up in the areas I mentioned, and 35 years ago there was certain streets we were too scared to ride our bikes down. Now it's filled with some high-end homes. Last year, Altadore had over 62 homes that were sold over $1 million, and as I mentioned, land value today is selling in and around $800,000 to $850,000 for 50 feet.
Yeah, so it's some prime dirt there in the city, I guess.
It is, yeah.
But on this house here, the upstairs has been converted into something different.
Well, the house was really custom built for I think the right buyer is someone who is certainly an empty nester, or someone who doesn't need, a ton of square footage, but appreciates a lot of quality. The upper floor in this is designed as a master bedroom and a retreat, which certainly can be converted to 2 bedrooms. It's roughed in for a future bathroom. For $25,000, you can have, your typical 2-bedroom attached home.
And so it's kind of reconverted back to, I guess, a more typical layout. Is that
right now? It's that's right. So you could convert it back. Right now, it's a perfect layout for an empty nester. It's a great retreat.
And there's a built-in generator on the property. What's that? What's the thinking there?
It's basically for someone who understands that they may be traveling. Person who buys this home might have multiple homes around the world and certainly might not live in Calgary, 12 months of the year. And so if there is an event of a power loss, the generator kicks in within about 30 seconds and goes to a lot of the major sources in the house. That obviously the furnace, some lights, the refrigeration system, and it's a seamless transition in the event of a power loss.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to leave Calgary, you wouldn't think, in the summertime, but in the winter you could be excused for taking a couple months off.
That's right.
But in older neighborhoods in general, I know it's kind of an uncertain time in the markets right now. There's a lot of changes, I think, and these older neighborhoods, they're always going to be close to the center of the city. What's your kind of perception on the market and how those neighborhoods fit in?
Yeah, Calgary certainly has a bit of a shift. No different than Vancouver and some of the major cities. People are moving back into the inner city as the commute has taken a little bit longer to get to the West Hills. So people are looking at areas like Altadore. Altadore has kind of risen in value after the floods, and certainly people wanted to go a little higher ground. And it was uncommon to have a $2 or $3 million home in Altadore a few years ago, and now it's kind of the new average.
Terrific. That's RE/MAX's Sam Correa. Sam, thanks so much for joining us. For more information, you can head to samcorrea.ca.